Përshëndetje and welcome to Inside Albania with me, Alice Taylor. This week I'm joined in the studio by Fatos Lubonja. Now, for those that don't know, Fatos Lubonja is a writer, an analyst, an activist, and a former political prisoner from the time of communist dictator Enver Hoxha. He spent 17 years in Spac, which was Albania and one of Europe's most infamous prison labor camps. Now, he was also the son of Todi Lubonja, who was the director of Rutashe during communism, and Liri Lubonja, who worked at the Institute of History. So originally he came from a family that was very close to and favored by the regime. But things changed drastically after the 11th Song Festival in the 70s. His father was accused of allowing content on television which violated public decency and was too Western and too modern for the communists, and life changed very drastically for him. We are going to be talking today about those years growing up during the communist regime in privilege, then falling out of grace, his time in Spac, and what on earth has gone on since Albania transitioned to democracy in the 90s. Fatos Lubonja, this is our second interview. Thank you very much for joining me at Inside Albania today.
Thank you for inviting me.
I think our first interview was around the time of the pandemic, where I'd started doing a podcast, just audio only. And I believe we spoke for about 3.5 hours in total. It was one of my favorite and definitely most interesting interviews that I've ever conducted. We haven't got quite so long today.
No. Okay.
I want to start at the beginning, sort of your childhood and you growing up in the way that you grew up. Your father obviously had quite a good position for the first few years of your life, your mother as well. And in a way, you grew up in sort of quite close proximity to the regime in some ways. And I wonder, what do you remember from that time in terms of that proximity, and how did it shape your sort of perceptions in your early years?
Yeah, it's a long story. To make it short, it's difficult. You know, when you are grown up, you are somehow a product of your parents in the way your identity is. I remember my mother has told me once, when they came in Albania, it came in our house to make census. Mm-hmm. And it was my grandmother on one side and it was my father. And they said, among others, what are you, your religion? And mm-hmm. My father said, I'm atheist. And the son, I was 2 years old, I know. The son is atheist as well. And my grandmother said, please, Todi, my father, you can do whatever you want with yourself, but not with the child, you know, because she was a Christian, you know. So I want to say, so you are grown up in this atmosphere, you are taught what to think somehow, mm-hmm. what to feel.
Was there an element of fear? Like in your childhood, were you aware that you had to behave a certain way, you couldn't say certain things? Did you get that sort of passed to you from your parents in any way?
Yeah, that's a good question. The first fear had to be from your parents, because we are growing up in an authoritarian family. So yes. You had to fear your father and your yeah. mother, and to be obedient, etc., etc. As far as the fear from the state, I don't remember it in my, let's say, 5-10 years, for sure. No. As far as I remember, it was even a time when my fathers and my mother, they were somehow convinced that they were on the right side, let's say.
Mm-hmm. They felt secure in there.
They felt secure, growing, and believing in the party, mm-hmm. you know. Then during the 60s, when I became a bit adolescent and then mm-hmm. Young, then this is the time when you understand that
something is not
right, mm-hmm. That you should not you had more contact with other people as well, other let's say friends and families, and you knew more the history, how it happened that my parents came in power, the party came in power, and of course we are in the same school with even people of friends of persecuted families, and so you could hear, you could smell that there is. And then it's the time when you grow up and you want to know more and to even to listen music, other stuff like that,
rebel a bit.
and to hear that there are not only these Albanian songs, but there are Italian songs, and that's stuff like that. And of course, after that, you start even to read. I was somehow in a family of culture in a way. My parents were and so they were even bringing books from abroad and reading these books and other visions of the world, etc., etc. And in the same time, you could understand, but by not only by telling it directly from parents, but you could smell it that there are things that are going on. You should not speak of everything. There are things that even in my parents started to have their own doubts and their own problems with the double language, let's say, the development of the double language. So one language that you speak in a house about how you think, even for instance, it was a reform of school at that time. And it was created a so-called triangle, a bit because of culture revolution in China. So the triangle was that you should not only be in the classrooms for but only 6 months in the classrooms, to 2 months to work, voluntary work, and to be educated by work, voluntary somehow, and 1 month to make the military training somehow. And my father was not happy about that, and so you could hear, and you could even from the families hear things that you should not say
the cracks
openly.
Started appearing.
And it starts.
Was there a specific moment for you that you remember that stands out as being when you started to question something's not right, or what we're being told on TV about how successful the country is and how everyone's happy? This is not the reality. Is there any moment that stands out in your mind where you realize that?
There are different stages, I could say. There is one stage that, being among privileged people, we could have television in the house, and we could see Italian television, and of course you could compare and have somehow another world, debates, different things that were not. It was not working like in Albania.
Yes.
But let's say, for me, the real point that I remember was because we made in high school, we made a adventure. It's long to tell the adventure. It was linked with exams, and we stole the papers of the exams, and we were caught, and somehow we were sent to be re-educated. And what I remember really is this moment when I met the working class, really, because this myth of the working class, which was they were the heroes, the leaders of the country, and of course we could feel ourselves as very weak people, weak human beings in comparison with these heroes, the heroic class who is building socialism and all,
out in the fields.
Not only, but even you could see them in the paintings, the exhibitions. If you have social realism, how they are heroic. And so when I was sent there to be re-educated among them, I saw their poor people, ignorant people, and this was shocked. It was a shock for me.
You grew up. Which part of Tirana did you grow up in?
I was grown up in the eastern part of Tirana, the old Tirana. It was the house of my grandfather, and I was among common people there, of course. We are not in the nomenclatura. In this period, we changed this house and we went in a villa, which was better in the center of Tirana, but always close to the bazaar. The bazaar, it's a villa there. And so this was a place of my youth. And I remember, it's interesting because you're asking me, that when we went there, I was 11 years maybe old, and I heard among friends of my parents, I don't remember who, so that you are there among the reactionaries. Because it was a small street, and there were families of people who one of them had been in prison, in jail, one was killed, executed, and reactionaries. And in this time, reactionaries, I was thinking, how are these reactionaries?
They're scary sort of idea.
People not like
don't make eye contact with
maybe they have something.
They're gonna stab me or
a cue or And then I saw, well, they are like us, And the only reactionary I remember, which was for me not a small child, it was one of them was tall, 2 meters tall.
My sort of height.
You could see his head over the wall. I said, oh, yes, he's
scary reactionary.
He's a reactionary somehow. So living with them was also, living together with other people. You learn a lot about what your surrounding and
you began to realize things didn't quite add up to this socialist paradise.
No.
As a young man, I mean, you say you grew up in this household which had as much culture as was sort of allowed at the time. You were reading, obviously music as well. You're a writer. You are born a writer. It's in you from when you're born, But I'm wondering, as a young person with those sort of interests and tendencies, how did you think your future was going to pan out? What were you going to do with your future? You have this creativity, sort of culture inside you, but in this very limited...
Yeah, this is a good question. In the beginning, I have written some stuff, little things, even published, with the same ideology, let's say. A story with the partisans during the war, a story with a heroic working class during an earthquake. They are doing some heroic stuff. And when I start to become aware, I was in the end of the high school, let's say. Then I started to keep my diaries and to write stuff for me, and during all my university life. In the same time, it's not that I was thinking now that I will create a party or no. It was impossible. You couldn't. Yes. But you start this double life. In the same time, you want to make a career. I remember that my career, I chose not to study literature. Even my father, who was aware of the things going on, told me, literature, it's because otherwise you have to write for this stuff that I had written when I was younger. So maybe you go to physics and to become... So even the selection of the profession was a way that families try to keep their children,
He was trying to protect you,
to protect in a way.
He knew you would really want to write about the reality, so he tried to push you in a different...
And so I was thinking at that time that I could do somehow double life, being a teacher of physics or being a scientist, let's say, and in the same time have my own world.
But everything changed. Your father was arrested, and shortly after you were arrested as well. What was the time difference between your father being arrested and you facing your troubles?
The trouble started because my father was declared, let's say, enemy of people publicly in in a plenum, the fourth plenum in '73. And I was in the last year of university at that time. I had to finish my last year of university. And my father was expelled from the Central Committee and from the party. He was sent in a town of Leja, first as a director of state enterprise there, and then as a simple worker. And I was doing my last year of university. Yes. I was not expelled from the university at that moment. In the same time, just after the plenum, I found that the Secret Service, zhgënjimi we called it, had opened files for all family members somehow. And that means that they started to follow us, to search for proofs, and we have been arrested both together, even with my uncle and their brother-in-law, the husband of their sister, four, because zhgënjimi with its means somehow could find that in the house of my uncle, we had hidden there. It was hidden my stuff written. Yes. My written stuff. Some weapons of my father from the war, because he was, and some stuff of my father, etc., etc. And so they were found, and we were arrested in
parallel.
In parallel, 2 days after 2 days in '74.
And you were sent to Spach. You served time there. I mean, I could say, how was that? But I guess you wouldn't know where to start. I mean, Spach is known as the most infamous prison or place in Albania, but also one of those in Europe in recent years as well. Its reputation is, and I wouldn't, for you, I mean, you served, was it 16 or 17 years 17. In total?
Not in Spach only, but in Spach most of them.
What was the most difficult moment of that for you?
The most difficult the most difficult thing was when I arrested for the second time. Being in prison, of course, the terrible thing was to work with 3 shifts.
Yes.
From 75, I arrived at 75 there till 79, beginning of 79. And this was a terrible time.
What was the 3 shifts thing?
Sorry?
You said 3 shifts. Yeah. You mean in the day working?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if my English is okay.
No,
but
don't worry, it's great.
3 shifts it's 1 week first shift during the morning. Yeah. Second week, second shift in the afternoon. Third shift during the night.
Yeah, so
and then
it starts again. And how long was each shift? 8 hours?
8 hours.
8 hours.
8 hours plus going and coming, because the mine and the place where the dormitories were a bit far, so you had to go to climb.
And you were working in the mines, in the side of the mountain, with rudimentary tools.
Yes.
Back-breaking work. Yes. No breaks.
It's time when my 2 friends of mine sent a letter to the Central Committee against Enver Hoxha in '78. They were journalists who had studied in Moscow, but they were anti-Stalinists, and so they were claiming that you should change, and Enver Hoxha is responsible for the break with Soviet Union, and etc., etc., and it's created this system, terrible system. And to make it short, just because of a letter sent to the Central Committee, not published, not sent abroad, just to the Central Committee. They were not happy to condemn them other 10 years, like they did usually, because at that period, there were people who were, even other people who were sentenced being in prison, they decided to execute them, to kill them. And it's the time when in Czechoslovakia, 1 year before, 77, Havel made the so-called chart, 77. It was an open act of dissidency, and it was known outside Czechoslovakia, in the Western world, etc. So a very big act. And he has been condemned 4 years and has made only 2 years. And these two journalists, for a letter from prison sent to the Central Committee, they were executed. And I was selected to be part of the organization because in order to execute that people, they wanted just not, they couldn't kill them just like this without. They needed a trial, and so they had to create an accusation, an article called Penal Code, which was selected to be creation of a counter-revolutionary organization, and they were executed. I was sentenced other 16 years. But this is the most terrible moment of...
Because you're already there, you're suffering, but you have in your mind, okay, soon I'll be out of here, you know? And then they come and they slap you with another sentence.
It's not only that, but even the terror of death that I experienced, because we didn't know this organization does not exist. So we have not done any organization. What the hell is going on? We didn't know that they were, because you were isolated. You didn't know that the purpose was to kill them and to punish maybe the others. You said they want to eliminate what is, who knows what is happened in the head of the paranoia of the leader or something. And all the situation was that we are threatened to be executed. And this was, you know, it's a trauma, let's say.
When you look back at the things that happened and the cruelty that was inflicted on you, and these are by your fellow countrymen, these are by people that, you know, maybe you would have been friends with in a different circumstance, like, how do you perceive their actions? I mean, like the guards, the judiciary, not the top people, but those who were executing the orders, you know? Can you understand, or maybe they were brainwashed, or do you just think they're just evil? A product of pure evil?
No, I don't think they are pure evil. My slogan, I mean, of my life, let's say, has been this was even a way of resilience, a way to resist, to survive. It's Spinoza is something saying by Spinoza, but I had it just in my, not from Spinoza, but that from my needs, from my experience. He's saying something like, don't cry, don't lament, don't hate, understand. So understanding is important.
Yes.
To develop your way, to understand the guard, the evil, to understand it. When you understand it, you create a distance, and creating this distance helps you to survive even. The thing is, my doubts are in the sense that when Primo Levi, you know, it's a saying, all understanding is all justifying. Because if you understand the killer, you know he has been, when he was a child, he was badly treated by his parents. So that's why he's becoming a serial killer, you know, films.
Yes.
And then you understand it, and somehow you justify in a way, you know.
Yes, it's a difficult line to walk.
It's a difficult line, and Primo Levi, as I'm saying, if all understanding is all justifying somehow, better not to understand.
Yes, I'm more on that side of things.
But I don't think so, because we need to understand, to know the evil, in order not to build instruments to fight against it, not to be repeated, because this is a big problem of Albanians, the repetition of the evil.
Have you come face to face with any of your former guards since?
Yes, I met once when I was in Spach.
Like after, yeah.
But the guards were, so, in my understanding, so without, I have several cases, not only one. One I have described in the book False Apocalypse, when we were making protests, and one man came and oh, Fatos, how are you? And I saw he was one of the terrible guards.
What?
But I found myself in the same, let's say, part of the demonstrators, because we are against Berisha, at the time. And so he was coming there because he was...
It's interesting. And that sort of goes back to what I said about it being like a sort of brainwashing. They believe what they were doing was right at the time and it was a matter of survival. But for him to have the confidence to, like, the audacity almost to come and hug you afterwards, I think it kind of shows that the pressure and the impact that communism had on them and made them behave in certain ways, because I think if I'd done something terrible to someone out of choice because I was a bad person, I would never be able to approach them in another scenario.
I don't think that they have elaborated what they have done.
Yeah.
No, this is not that's not part of the culture of Albanians. We just blame the others for other things, and sometimes they put the responsibility to the others, not to ourselves. We don't think of our responsibilities for the things. He felt me on his side at that moment, and so the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and this is enough for Albanians. And then they change enemies and they change friends as well.
But when you emerged from Spach after 17 years and you came out into this new world where democracy was coming and the capitalism, and everyone was so excited and had so much hope, things didn't go to plan. What did you think when you came out? Did you share the hope and the vision of the other people, or had your time in Spach made you more cynical about human nature and Albania? Were you perhaps a bit more reserved with your hopes for the future?
I could say I am not being among the enthusiasts. In the sense who believe that now we are going to go to
capitalist paradise.
To be paradise. I knew problems from my life. I knew people, much more experience I had it. I started out in very early, even on the new leaders that we had in power. But on the other side, I could say that I was not hopeless. I was somehow, I was feeling myself together with other people as part of those who said that we have to change the culture of this country, the heritage of this country. And this needs a work. I started my journal Perpiekia, which is just an intent to introduce the critical thinking of Albania, to deconstruct the myths, nationalistic myths, the myths of national communism, I call the ideology of power of Enver Hoxha, and to help people think differently, and to criticize, as a human rights activist I became, to criticize what was going on in the country. And of course, to write my experience of prison. So there are sometimes even personal hopes and dreams and things that you want to achieve in the personal, and of course, as part of a society. So my first decade especially was, in a sense, the decade when I had much more hopes, and of course it was a time of the contacts with the Western world, so many NGOs who arrived here to promote, to teach us even democracy, etc., etc. And I could say, in my paper, in my journal, I had even a chapter called transitology. So I believed in the transition, that we are on this side of the river, let's say, and we have to cross the desert to arrive to become a Western country, like the paradise, let's say, or the promised land.
I think 1997 and the collapse of the pyramid schemes was perhaps, the rudest awakening to the reality for people in that first decade, But I want to ask your opinion, and I've asked quite a few people who were active in that time their opinion, so I'm asking you as well. In terms of the collapse of 97, who should bear more responsibility for it? Berisha? The masses, the people? Was it, and I don't mean it in an offensive way, the ignorance of the masses that led to the situation? Was it that the handful of wrongdoers who were in charge of the pyramid schemes? Was it political? Whose fault was it? Who should bear the responsibility the most?
Yeah, this is a very good question. I think that this responsibility cannot be separated. They are linked all together, because if you want to find the political responsibility, of course, it's Berisha's, Berisha's and all his political environment.
Yes.
Because
it's their job to run the country.
The first duty of a politician is to know what's going on with these pyramids.
Yes.
Who is this, Sudya, the name, famous name, or who is this other guy who was leading this VEFA? Where are they going? This money, where is this money is coming from?
They should know. They have to know.
They should have known. In my view, and this is the problem of Albania, they maybe knew, maybe didn't know anything, but they profited from this money. They had their own profit because they were paying. But then, if you want to enlarge the responsibility, I remember when I talked for the first time with someone who informed me that these are a terrible thing and this is going to collapse, I asked a friend of mine, I don't mention name, who was director of a newspaper. I told him, listen, we are making advertising of this, but they are somehow they are.
This is not good.
This is not good. This is the source of money is this, and he told, but I pay with this money. I pay the journalists. So they paid. So it was a criminal economy, who led by some inventors who collaborated with politicians who had their own profits and who corrupted the society in a way or another way. And so when you want to think of the responsibility, of course, the first is the leadership.
Yes.
And the institutions which were built to control this. But then when I see on the other side, say, could this leadership exist without these people? Somehow this is the idea that the government is a reflection of its own people, the mirror of its own, which Havel...
Do you think that's true today still?
Of course.
Yes.
It's the same. It's the same. We are in the same philosophy of the pyramids, but in a larger scale.
But you must admit, today, 2025, I mean, I've been here for 8 years. Things are better. Things have improved. The quality of life is better. Basic services have improved. It's not all bad now. You're looking at me very...
No. It's the same language was used during the pyramidal time. Albania is progressing.
But
it's very good. So cafes, so nice cafes.
Oh, I don't care about
nice
cafes.
Places, etc., etc. It's the same.
I care about schools where my daughter goes. I wouldn't have sent her to a state school 8 years ago. I'm not going to say it on TV, but she goes to a state school. I wouldn't have done that 5 years ago. You know, hospitals. I use Nana Teresa. I didn't when I was pregnant. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But neither is the UK. But things have got better. Have they got better quick enough? That's another question.
That's if you want my opinion.
I do.
Okay. My opinion is that what is the link with the pyramidal schemes? Mm-hmm. The link with the pyramidal schemes, it's that you have to go to the roots of this well-being, well-having, if you want, you know. At that time, it was the money of immigrants and who was distributed in an economy who was cheating all of us, telling us that you are well, you are better, you can have now this. It lasted short time. Mm-hmm. My biggest problems that I have with this country now is that the source of money, who has created some in superficial things changed, is not a sustainable economy, a sane economy, but it's the money laundering of traffickants. Mm-hmm. This is the most part of the money circulating. With this money, now we have more construction everywhere, with all the problems that the construction have, of course, but it's another topic. But it circulates money. People can eat, can have better supermarkets and maybe what you said, hospitals better. I am not sure that the hospitals are better, but anyhow, of course have been terrible, but still in surface they are better. But the mentality of people, the mentality to serve people is not changed very much. So always people have to pay for doctors for their services they give. I mean, pocket money.
Bribes.
But bribes. But the main problem is that this economy has created a lot of problems that will come one day and create a terrible thing, maybe not like the pyramids in a way.
Economic crash.
A crash, because this, I don't find a meritocracy in this country. Mm-hmm. The most trustful people and the richest people are not good people with fantasy, but these people who are very brave in making traffics and building things. Mm-hmm. I see only the development of buildings, which is not in the future has no sense. It's useless, but even in the same time is destroying because you are speaking about better quality of life, but I'm not sure better quality of life when I see that the public spaces are narrower and narrower, when I see the traffic more and more terrible, when I see the dust and the pollution higher and higher, and especially when I see what is very important in a society to be. You know, it's not only money who is important, of course, having. The problem is human relations.
Yes.
And human relations, Albania is a society where human relations are in the low level. I mean, the trust on each other.
But this comes from the past, and it's understandable. But this then goes back to...
This comes from the past, but this comes even from the fact that this criminal economy is made by people who cannot show what they are doing. Mm-hmm. Their relations are relations between criminals. They collaborate with politicians. Politicians select them because they have money. And so all honest people, when Edurama came in power, he used something that I said as well, this country is a place where honest people cannot live. It's the same. It's worse even, in my view. Honest people cannot live because you have to be linked. And of course, even if you consider democracy, because of course you are saying the hospitals and so on, let's look at democracy.
But I've said the same thing. I've said many times, because sometimes people say to me, because I'm an Albanian citizen now, they say, why don't you go into politics? And I'm like, because I could not be corrupt, but to survive in this ecosystem at that level of power, you would have to be corrupt to survive, because the whole ecosystem from the bottom up and the top down, not just from the top down, from the bottom up, its mentality across all levels of society. Even if Mother Teresa became the prime minister, she would either have to be corrupt in some way to survive and to get things done, or she'd have to leave. This is the problem. Has there ever been is there a single politician in Albanian history since 91 that you have trusted or believed in, or you think has actually done a good job?
No, listen. I believe I could mention someone, but it's not important. People, more honest people than others. But for me, more important that the person is the system, in the sense that democracy is created just because we don't think that human beings are good, but because human beings are egoists, human beings want to have their own profits, want power, want a lot of things. And democracy is the best system to prevent from all the evils of the human beings and to control them. That's why we need opposition and majority, parts, separation of powers, etc., etc. So I believe in the system that reacts when someone comes and wants to misuse the power. And in this sense, I think that the period, the best, let's say, period, with all the problems that Albania has had, is from, let's say, after 97, from Berisha's going out, because till maybe 2013 or let's say even 17, first mandate of Edi Rama. Because with all the problem, and the main problem that Albanians have is the tyranny of majority. We don't have democracy, but we have the tyranny of a majority. That those who win, they control everything. They or try to control. But still, we had rotation. You are coming from Britain, you know the Western world. Tell me one country where in the West, you could mention maybe Merkel, but you cannot mention a party in democracy that more stays in power, more deputy it gets. Its majority grows. This can happen only in Putin-like parties. The more stay in power, the more grows, because more you control the economy, more you control the administration, more you control the intellectuals, more you control media, more you control more everything. And if there is such a project, which I fear now, in my view, even in America can happen, I hope they don't let, but so even in America, in a state of democracy, you have the risk that someone comes with a fascistic way of thinking and tries to control judiciary, etc., like Trump is doing now, in my view. So in this project, Albania has gone too far with Edi Rama. And this is the main problem, because you cannot more control.
I mean, going back to the 90s, I don't know if you were friends as such, but you and Edi Rama were not enemies, I believe. When did you change your perspective on him? When did your relationship sour, I think is the diplomatic way of putting it? At what point? What triggered it?
When he became politician, it changed.
When he became politician or when he came in power? Because you said the first mandate was okay.
No. I'm not speaking of 2013. I'm speaking when he became for the first time Minister of Culture, and then he became.
Why? What was it that made you switch your opinion of him?
And then became mayor of Tirana. What switched? The betrayal of all the ideas and vision that we had for Albania.
Specifically,
let's forget about. But when he was Minister of Culture, it was short period, especially the vision of Tirana. Our vision of Tirana, published in the articles in my journal Perpiekia, by people very close to Rama, friends of me as well. It's a very famous article. If you can find it. Tirana, the hell, the urban hell of the 20th century. Was there you find all our vision, let's say, written by two friends of us, against all. So for the return in identity, which Rama used in the beginning, and the program Rama made himself in the beginning, following this, was that the historical Tirana will be reconstructed by Austrians, was made by Austrians, and the new development will happen beyond the
limits
Zogu Street, so in the new boulevard there. Maybe make skyscrapers or stuff like that. This is Tirana. Instead of that, why they changed? Why he changed? He changed because all these rich people, oligarchs who had started to have money and started to have even media, had bought parts, and they said, easier is I want to build because here it is I can sell it higher and higher and higher. And they started to destroy the historical center. This is the first clash I have had very open publicly with Rama. And generally speaking, of course, the inner problem is what Michel Foucault calls fascism within us. Fascism within us. So it's the problem. All we have this fascism within us. What is this will for power, will to prevail, human nature. And we have to be very careful, according to Foucault, to avoid this, to be critical to our thoughts, to choose multi-identities, there are different suggestions, according to Foucault, how to fight fascism is within us. In Albania, unfortunately, and Rama has it very open, fascism within us develops very quickly, and of course I was even against this tendency to not to build institutions, but to build personal power everywhere, to identify yourself with the institution. I am the institution. We had to build in Albania institutions, which are institutions that even when you die, when you go away, they exist, they keep going. If Albania is a place where generally, if the leader dies, even you see it's everywhere, even NGOs that we have had, the leader of an NGO during the 90s is the same leader if he is not dead again. So you don't have institutions where personal. So all this culture that we tried to change, in my review, and we were against it, was because of power reason was instead of being fought by Rama were much more easier to be used for power. That's it. It's very, very, very clear. Instead of emancipating people, it's better to keep in their old mentality, use their old mentality, their nationalism, and manipulate them. It was not my duty and not Rama's duty when we were friends. That's long. But
I think I share some of your concerns, but I always try and be more optimistic, and I'm wondering.
Okay, give me your signs of optimism, and I will tell you. Please.
I'm optimistic. It's a different place to where it was 8 years ago. And I'm looking at it now from the perspective. I'm a mother. I'm by myself. I'm raising a child by myself. It's not easy, but then I see and hear the struggles that people I know, friends and family, have in Europe, in the UK, in the US. And I think, okay, well, at least I don't have to worry about my kid getting shot in her classroom, to the same level that someone does there, or I can walk home late at night without getting raped or stabbed, or, at least my electric and water bills are not £800 a month to keep my family warm and watered, So there are things that I'm grateful for.
I've seen a short video of you when you compare the prices in Britain and the prices here. Mm-hmm. And you say that there is the £2,000 and here is, I don't know, 400.
Yeah,
salary.
More than that now. It's a year ago.
It was a year ago. I don't think that things have changed. And I know you because I know you have collaborated with Exit before. You have been critical, but you have changed mind. Okay, but
no, not changed mind, because the cost of living. I mean, I'm spending. I spend so much money on food, on clothes for my daughter. On the cost of this has gone up massively. I mean, it's difficult. I'm supporting her and my mother, who now lives here. This is really hard, But then I look at the UK, where, okay, they're paying the same prices as I am for food, but I'm saving in some other areas. And like I said, for me now, like my number one priority is like the safety of my daughter, for example. It's different here to how it is in the UK. When I took her to the UK, I had to say to her before we went for a holiday, stay next to me, hold my hand, don't talk to anyone, don't run away, stay close to your mum. You're not in Albania, you can't behave how you used to. It's, for me now, those are my priorities.
It depends on what you think. I mean, okay, the safety of your daughter, it's one thing. If you want my opinion about safety, of course, now we are not in the time when they were thieves of bicycles. Mm-hmm. It was a time during the 90s. I have 7 bicycles have been somehow stolen from me. But this security comes because our thieves don't care more about bicycles. You see the cars of many people here, how many Range Rovers and stuff like that circulate in Albania, and no one is caring where is this money coming from. And in my view, these thieves, or more than thieves, criminals, are much more dangerous for society in a larger scale than the security. They kill each other every day, you have seen. But if we would like to build a society, a normal society with a sane economy, not a captured state but by them, but a state who controls them and puts them in jail, then I tell you that this is becoming quite impossible. Mm-hmm. I know there they will be so dangerous. Then you will see what they. So the biggest danger in Albania is the captured state. So in other countries, there is mafia. Here, mafia has its state. In every state, there is mafia. Here, mafia has its own state. And this is the largest scale of criminality in a country. This is my view.
And I do believe that the security situation will get worse here for lots of reasons. I'm not naive, but as everything changes, some will change for good, some will change for bad. And I do share your concerns about building. My last question, where do you see Albania in 10 years? In the EU?
Oh, this is listen, first of all, tomorrow or after tomorrow, I'm going to protest with some Italians and other people. And the slogan is EU still our dream? Because I don't like a EU like it is now. Of course, I think it's better to live in EU in Italy, where I live, than in Albania. I don't think like you. But I see a EU in crisis in many aspects. I am against the war, the rearmament. These politicians, I consider them irresponsible, so they are sending us to war. And I see the growing of nationalism and the growing of the idea of the separation of EU, of Italy first, France first, etc., etc. Britain, they made already the Brexit. So when we speak of EU, I like more to speak about some good values of EU built in Albania. This is Albania in EU for me, first of all. So if I have the rule of law and not the rule of one person in Albania, and the rule of bandits. In this sense, Albania is, though, as I told you, the transition is finished, has built a system, a regime, which is stable, and in 10 years, my fear is that Albania can be closer, of, if not, will be collapsed because of this system created, like the pyramidal schemes, because
the property market might crash.
All this, or someone will fight maybe from the world, they will fight this because they are becoming more and more threat, these trafficants everywhere in Europe, or they will fail, or they will find better places to invest their money, no more here. So I am not at all optimist. I am somehow, in a sense, a catastrophist, not in the sense that I'm waiting for a catastrophe, but trying to prevent a catastrophe. A catastrophist who tries to say, look, we are going towards a catastrophe, we have to stop and to take measures to not to continue in this direction. But I am just a person, and I find myself a loser in this sense. No one is hearing our voice. So I find like a Cassandra myself.
Let's hope. I, the optimist, would hope.
Let's meet after 10 years if I will be alive.
I hope so. Fatos Lubonja, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all for this week. You can watch Inside Albania every Saturday at 4 o'clock on Euronews Albania, on our YouTube channel, Euronews Albania, or across all major podcasting platforms. Until next time, Mirapavshim.